Turning back to Decision 2020, Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs is here with us now. Secretary Hobbs, thank you for joining us again. I know you're very busy, so thanks for making time for us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, the question I think is on the mind of most Arizonans is, where do we stand with the ballot count and when will it be done? I know I sound like a broken record, but we got to keep asking.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. People want the answers. And so we're at about 120,000 ballots left in the state. Roughly a little bit less than half of those are provisional ballots. And so I think it's important to keep in mind that not all the provisional ballots will actually end up being counted. They're provisional for a reason. The election officials have to determine if they're actually able to be counted or not. So the remaining regular ballots, most of what's left, I don't think we're going to see any more really big uploads from Maricopa County like we've been seeing, because these are all ballots that require a lot of details to get them tabulated. And instead of just being able to feed them in the tabulator, it's requiring manual labor. They need duplication because they're a braille or large print ballot or a military overseas ballot, or the ballots that the tabulator couldn't read. And so there's duplication involved in all of that to get those ballots able to be tabulated. And so we're going to see the rest of the results, I think, trickling in over the next couple days. And then there's also a cure period for some of the ballots that lasts until Tuesday. So some of those ballots won't be able to be counted until after that cure period. And that is for if you're issued a conditional provisional ballot. For example, you have to show valid ID for that ballot to be counted. Or on those ballots that are mailed in and they have mismatched signatures, then if you're contacted about that, you have until Tuesday to rectify that signature. And so we're looking at kind of a slow slog over the next few days to get those counted. And I think we'll be close to having some finality in the next few days.
All right, so it sounds like even the normal process is going to take a long time, and that's before we even get to the lawsuits. The lawsuit over voting by Sharpie was dismissed, but the Trump campaign has now filed another lawsuit saying that poll workers were inadvertently canceling out people's votes on Election Day. And Secretary Hobbs, you are named in that lawsuit. So are you familiar with this overvote error that these machines are giving according to the suit? And can you describe what training the poll workers receive on those machines?
You know, the poll workers are trained to manage the equipment, and I can assure you that we did not. Maricopa County has already said this in the information they provided to the Attorney General related to the other issue, the Sharpie issue, that there were no ballots with overvotes that were canceled on Election Day. They've already verified that. And so we just got the lawsuit, haven't had a chance to really dig into it, but it looks to be just a repackage of the Sharpie lawsuit and really something that's intended to drag things out and delay the official canvass of the results.
And so you believe that this new lawsuit is just as dead on arrival as that Sharpie lawsuit might have been?
Well, I mean, it's certainly drafted a little bit better than the previous one. But I just really believe that the claims are baseless and that at this point, folks are grasping at straws.
Now, where do you get these poll workers? Because, folks are asking about these bipartisan vote witnesses that are helping to tabulate the votes and witnessing the votes being tabulated. What about the folks in the polls that are helping you? Because they are mentioned significantly in this new lawsuit.
Yep. So a lot of poll workers, they show up and they do this year after year after year. And if you'll remember, before the election, we did a big push statewide to recruit poll workers because we are concerned. A lot of poll workers tend to be in their 60s and 70s. We didn't want to put people at risk. And there were a lot of people who didn't want to put themselves at risk. And so they decided not to be poll workers. So the counties have a process of bringing these folks in, getting them trained up on what their roles are. And so there are requirements across the state in every county that the poll workers who are working the polls have to be bipartisan, and there has to be an even split in every polling place. And that's part of how we ensure the fairness of the process, that there's not any polling place that has all Democrats or all Republicans. It's mixed, and it's mixed on purpose so that nobody can claim that one party or the other was cheating. And then they go through training, obviously, and usually There's more seasoned poll workers that would be placed in polling places with less seasoned poll workers. There's always a structure of, people are assigned roles. There's supervisors so that they're the ones assigned to troubleshoot and things like that. And then they draw from the same pool of applicants to get these folks in who come and do the adjudication boards that you're seeing right now in the tabulation centers, looking at those ballots that the tabulators aren't able to read.
And I have one final question for you. We don't have much time left, but one party claiming the other is cheating, that's exactly what's going on. It's happening from the president himself. It's happening in the streets of Phoenix right now. How do you handle accusations like that?
Well, I'm trying to, stay focused on the task at hand, and that's making sure that we are getting these ballots counted, which is exactly what the protesters are asking for. There's transparency in the process every step of the way from well before the election ever happens, in terms of the equipment and all the things we do to ensure the security. And so, we're counting the ballots. We're required to by law. We would be even if these protests weren't happening. And so I just think at this point, they decided they didn't like the results and they wanted to complain about them. And there's really no basis to any claims that they're making.
All right. She is the Secretary of State of State 48, Katie Hobbs. Thank you very much for your time, Ms. Hobbs.
Thank you.
And our Decision 2020 coverage continues tonight on 12 News at 9. We will see you then. Thanks for joining us.